that was my first action movie. So for me, there was intense pressure to do well. And also in Hong Kong, there's been a great lull of non-female action, especially not action taken to that level. Because when Corey Yuen, the director, was asked to do this movie, he was in the States, and then they said to him, it's with Michelle, it's with a girl, and he's like, a girl action movie? Like, oh God, And when he heard of me, I was Miss Malaysia at that time. I'd just done this commercial with Jackie. I had long hair, I just finished Al versus Dumbo, and he thought, oh God. So that was when they also brought in Cynthia Rothwell, because she's a world champion in a form of martial arts. But that form of martial arts is very different from screen fighting. Screen fighting, you don't have to perform a whole sequence of movements. So, I'm able to get away with it. So I'm able to learn and perform at the same time. So luckily for me, that, being in the movies, that was my advantage. But it was good when you work with someone, we had Dick Wai on the movie, people who are so up high in the martial arts caliber, then you push yourself further to be good and better, and it was good for me. How I do things is when I stop doing something, I don't dwell on it. I move on to do other things. And so, when I moved on to do other things, it was something that I had a great time doing. I really enjoyed myself while I was doing it. And then when I stopped doing it, there was no time to sit back and think, oh, I should be still doing that. I moved on. And then when it was time to come back out again, it was just like on my lap, and I was given a second opportunity to try it again. So I thought, well, I have nothing to lose. It's not often you get a second chance like this. So I went straight back into it. That was Stanley Tong. Like I said, Stanley is someone that I've worked with since Magnificent Warriors, when he was still a son boy, and then over the years we've always kept in touch. I always used to train with him, and I promised him one time before I retired for those few years that when he had his first great major movie, I would be in it. So he and myself, the timing was just right. So he came to me and said, I have my first great major movie and you promised to be in it. So, it was like Golden Harvest, biggest production of the year, Jackie Chan. How do you say no? You can't go back on your word. And I've been watching Stanley Tong's movies, since he became a director in his own right. And I had confidence of his work, and I knew that, it was my own first movie after my break. And it was important for me to make sure that I came out with, something that my audience wasn't going to sit back and say, well, after 3-4 years of not being in the business, she's like slowed down. She's not the same person that we knew. So I had trust in him. When we were in China, I had that wooden stance on my balcony. Every morning when I came out, I was like, oh, you have to do that so that when you did it, you were convincing. You didn't have to think about the movements. Because when you fight, it's sometimes quite difficult to switch from modern day and period. Because you suddenly your fingers should be like this. You suddenly go, oh God, you get confused. It's physically very taxing to do because, once you're on a wire, your movements, a lot of it is controlled by these 3 or 4 guys on the other side of the wire. But it's much better than doing one of those where you fly in the air because then you're just trying to look pretty. But with the Yuen walking one, the timing, the turns, the motions, the kicks that comes with it is very, very intricate. If you watch Wing Chun, when you do it, there's some wire work, but it has to be done like there is none. So that is even more difficult. Chinese movies, especially with the period movies, it's a fantasy. It's like legend-like. At that moment in time, people believed that people could walk across the water, and they could fly up, with one leap because of the style of martial arts that they do. They could do that. I mean, I have a lot of problems when I go back to Malaysia. The kids see me and say, "I'll believe that's Michelle Yeoh if she runs across the water right now." I'm like, okay, fine, you don't believe me. when the Song sisters came along, I think Mabel Chang, the director, was the first one to approach me, and she was a little wary because it's not the main role in the film, and she thought that I wouldn't do it. But as a person, I understood and I realized how much dedication and hard work that she put into it, and I loved the story. I've read the book prior to that, and I knew it was something that meant something. Sometimes you want to do a movie that has a message, or it gives the audience a history, like an education or something like that. And I thought that movie had something to say. And in Asia, people needed to know about that period of time in China, and it's a major moment. And these three women, these three sisters, were outstanding. So when she approached me, I wanted to do that project because I liked it. In an American or a Hollywood movie, the budgets are definitely bigger, so maybe you have a little bit more perks, But once it comes down to the nitty-gritty parts of working, everybody's still rushing around, everybody's still trying to do a good job. So there's not that much difference. The only difference is everybody speaks English now, and I can read my own script. That's the major difference here. I don't need someone to tell me my lines, because I don't read Chinese. In an American movie or Hollywood movie, the insurance plays a bigger part in that movie. So you have like a whole list of things that you have to be careful of, so that they are not liable for any injuries and things like that. In Hong Kong, it tends to be a bit more lax. In an insurance form, horseback riding, skiing is listed as dangerous sports. I mean, the things that we do, we jump off motorbikes, we jump off buildings. How are you gonna claim? And they know that I do my own stunts. So the minute they see my name, it's like, I don't even know how you want to write me in. Given the right script, good director, I'm not just going to Hollywood and leaving. Hong Kong is like my second home. I still have my base there, all my friends are there, and I still believe there's so much talent out there. And I think that there's going to be a lot of movies made in China as well. Everything seems to be looking east. So it would be great, to do the combination of the both and stay in touch.